Hopefully he will refrain from knocking that off. There's a water bottle here. Good boy. Oh, right here. Good boy. Voiceover Jill here for quick explanation time. Mac is pretty pull shy and ear shy, so I was having him target a water bottle, and then when I would click and reinforce, as I was feeding him the treat, I would reach up and touch his neck and then gradually reach up higher and higher till I got to his pole. So that wasn't even, part of the criteria. I was just sort of classically conditioning it as we went along. So he would get reinforced and then, oh, there's a hand up there, but I'm eating my treat and this is good, so I guess I don't mind it so much. And then he gradually got more and more comfortable with it. Touch. Touch. Right here. Well. Touch. Touch. Smile. He's a good man. And I'm back. So here I am going to show you guys some very raw footage. So Mac started out to be a pretty visceral biter, I would say. I mean, he never really tried to bite me, but he was just so mouthy, and I was actually a bit concerned that I was going to end up getting bitten. I was having to be really careful about this while also trying to figure out what to do. So at first I presented the halter and he was just kind of biting at it, and I was kind of just trying to stay as still as I could without getting bitten. Then I just tried to let him bite it, and that didn't seem to really take away his interest from it. So I let him do that for a little bit until I was like, okay, you're just playing with it. And so maybe it's reinforcing on some level. So the only other thing that I could think of to do, because again, I'm not a professional, so I'm not sure if this was the best course of action, but was to actually use negative punishment. So when he went to bite it, I would take the halter away. And after a second or two, I'd represent it. And I was looking for him to keep his mouth shut. And so when his mouth was completely still, I would click and reinforce. So each time he moved to bite at the halter or came at it with his mouth open, I would move it away. So the second that he was able to move towards the halter with his mouth shut, he got clicked and reinforced.
Mouth closed is our criteria at this point.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. I wonder when he's just listening or if he's actually understanding mouth shut is the criteria for putting a halter on. Good boy. Good boy. We had carrots for that one. Ooh, kind of tasty. Kind of like the carrots. That's good. I liked it. No biting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, you're so good.
so worried, but he's so good.
I would like to point out that I never got bit in this session, and I don't really think that he was trying to bite me, because just the way that he was going about it, he very easily could have, but I think it was more of just, I'd rather play with the halter than put it on. The common theme is that, like, positive reinforcement makes mouthy horses, and that's not the case, because just a case-by-case study, Zoe is not mouthy in the slightest. I think that this is more a product of ulcers, since now we've treated him for ulcers, and his mouthiness and biting has decreased significantly. I think it was more just a boredom, sort of anxious go-to behavior. So now we're teaching him go-to behaviors that are more safe. So it's not positive reinforcement's fault, it's just where he was at, and now we've worked to correct that.
Good boy. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
So even though the first session working at this might not have looked exactly how we wanted it, now we have a completely different horse. He's now volunteering to put his nose into the halter instead of having it forced on his face or him trying to bite at it. Now he understands what's being asked of him and what will earn him a reward. So now he likes putting his face in the halter and no longer bites it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Just leave it in. 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a good boy. That's a good boy.
So Mac was dealing with a bit of a biting problem, and I know it's mad dark, but I'm gonna try and show you guys. Touch. So my goal is to have him touch my hand with his mouth shut. I haven't gotten bitten this time. Touch. See how gentle he's being? And the reason I'm doing this is because he's just been a little nippy in training, and that wasn't a problem I had with Zoe. Touch. Nope. Touch. Oh boy. So I am having to work with him. I've done some other work, but I just did a lot of targeting, and now I'm asking him to touch my hand with a very quiet mouth and just gently place his lips into my hand. And then it's a lot more rewarding to do that than to bite me. So by no means am I saying that this is the best way to teach your horse not to bite. I'm not sure, but it's something I'm trying. If I get bitten, maybe it's not the best. I don't know. But I'm trying. The goal is to help him realize that it's more rewarding to touch my hand than it is to bite it. And when I got bitten the other day, it had absolutely nothing to do with training. Zoe was in heat. They didn't have a lot of hay. He's a bored young horse. And I walked up and petted him and touch. And as I was withdrawing my hand from petting him, he just kind of went and just like lackadaisically bit my hand. And I was like, all right, well, now I know an area in our training to work on. Touch. Yes, good boy, good boy, yes sir. And this is the first time we worked on this, but I am almost out of treats, so we can't do it for much longer. Touch. Oh, that was such a trap, and you handled it so well. So while he's chewing, obviously his mouth is open, so in order to meet my criteria, he's to stop chewing, shut his mouth, and touch my hand, and he's doing so good. Touch. Good man. Good man. So at first it was sort of just like nose my hand, then touch it, and then gradually I worked up to if he touched my hand and his mouth was moving, that wasn't going to work. So I would kind of hold it there until he stopped, and then I would click. But if he started like moving around too much, I would just remove it and represent. Touch. Good boy. And so by having him back, I also teach him the body language that I want to transfer to a normal backing cue. So he's already familiar with it, so that sets us up for being successful in regular backing lessons. Touch. Oh, what a very good boy. So I've been hesitant to talk about Mac's biting problem because, I mean, it hasn't been a huge problem. I've only been bitten by him once. But touch. Good boy. I've been nervous to talk about it because I didn't want everyone to say, see, this is what happens when you train horses with positive reinforcement. They just become biting and nibbling monsters. And he's not. I mean, clearly he's not. And that's the thing with Zoe. And the scenario where we were working didn't even involve food at all. So, touch. Touch. Yes. A little scientist. And I was nervous or apprehensive to talk about it because I didn't want people to just automatically go, see, Jill, we tried to tell you. But, I mean, it's that positive reinforcement creates grubby horses is completely false. I mean, just look at Zoe. Zoe's never bitten me once in her life or even come close to it. Unless I'm palpating her for ulcers, in which case she likes to tell me that doesn't feel great. Touch. Good boy. Mac has like a lot of little PTSD type things. He's an interesting personality. I couldn't have picked a more difficult horse to work with because I have to fix all of these little nuances. Touch. Are we back? Back in business? Good boy. Let the record show that this is the first time I've ever touched his ears. Touch. Good boy.
So this little step of trot may not look like much, but this meant the absolute world to me because every other time I jogged beside him, he would take off the opposite direction, buck, freak out, lose his mind, and was like, what on earth are you doing, human? And today he was just brilliant and was like, oh, I understand, go faster, because I did some of the quote-unquote match me work. You walk slow, walk fast, walk slow, walk fast, and reinforce each time they change, and then you can build up, and then eventually got to the trot, and I was just so proud of him for getting that and not being afraid. And we've just made so many changes to his diet and how he's living, and then the training, of course, and he's really come a long way. And it may not look like much to everyone else, but from what he was when we first got him to what he is now is night and day, and I can't wait to see where we go.
Should we run?